Hi guys, welcome to this training on using webhooks. Now, what is a webhook? A webhook is basically a URL that contains information that can be passed to other applications. So in this case, what we're going to use is we're going to use Zapier's webhook, and this Zenler uses outbound webhooks. So if someone signs up for your site, you can then capture that or fire that webhook, in this case Zapier's, and then Zapier can do what it likes with it. So you can put that into something like a Google Doc, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to put that into a Google Sheet. So you're going to actually register people coming in. So the webhook will fire, and it will be a Zapier's webhook, and that will fire out, pass the information, and that information will be put into whatever you like it to be put into. Okay, so that's basically how webhooks work. Now, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at capturing the user data from a course. Now, webhooks can be used in marketing funnels as well. It's all exactly the same thing. The only caveat that you need to remember is when the webhook fire, we need that initial information in there. So when someone registers for a course, we want to capture their first name, last name, any other details that you want to capture that are available inside the courses or the registration page. You want to capture that all at the same time. So I'm going to be telling you that if you just have it as you have by default, where someone signs up for a course like this and they enter their email address, and then they enroll, they buy the course, then normally you get a pop-up come up asking for first name, last name, etc. Okay, but we don't want that to happen. We want it to capture it at this initial stage. This is why it's important. This is why I'm showing you a course. With marketing funnels, you can put in the details you want to capture, first name, last name, email, and then it can capture that information. But with this particular default setup, the way that Zenler works is we've just got email address in there. So we need to add a couple of extra fields just to get it to all work. So I'm going to be walking you through what you need to do to be able to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the course itself, and I'm going to come into the pages of that course because I want to capture those details on the checkout page. I'm going to go and edit that page. I'm going to add the additional fields inside of checkout so that it captures those when the webhook fires. Okay, so let that load. All right, let's go to our dynamic checkout block, hit the little gear icon, go to checkout fields, and we're going to enable first name, and we're going to enable last name. We can make these required, and we will, and we're going to click phone number as well. We can put phone number in there and address. So this is the information that will be captured. Okay, so you can make that. I'm not going to make this one required for phone number. All right, so that's all done and set up there. So I'm just going to save that off, and now we're going to go into where the webhook gets set up for. So let's go into Zapier. First, before I go into Zapier, I'm just going to set up my Google Sheet to capture the data, okay, because we're going to be using Zapier. We're going to be using Zapier's webhooks to send the information, and then after that information has been captured, it's then going to enter it into a Google Sheet. So I'm going to jump into Google Sheet and just do a default sheet so that you can see the way it looks. Now we want to capture the first name, last name, email obviously, and phone number if we want to. So I'm going to put those into the Google Sheet. Okay, so I have a Google Sheet here, and I have first name, last name. I've also put the course in because you can pull the course details, and you'll see later all the fields you can put into the Google Sheet. I've also got the date that happened on, and I've got the email, and I've got the phone number in there. Now notice that I've also set up a test field. This is basically to show in Zapier that it's using a test from that field, so it's looking at the data in that field. So we can delete this after we've tested, but for now I'm just putting this first line in here. So what will happen is when someone enrolls inside the course, then the data will be sent to Zapier. Zapier will then enter that data into this Google Sheet on my Google Drive. So I'm now going to jump into Zapier, and we're going to set up the webhook and then copy all the relevant things we need to into the course. Okay guys, so we're in Zapier now. Now it's important to remember that using the Zapier webhook, you need to have a paid version of Zapier. You cannot use the free version. All right, this is really important. So only to use, you can use Webhook, Zapier's premium webhook feature only if you're using the paid version of Zapier. Now for you guys that are using something like Pabbly, then the actual connection process is pretty much the same, all right? So you should be able to adapt what you're learning from this Zapier one into something like Pabbly if you're using it. So I'm going to click Make New Zap, and the first thing we're going to do is set up the webhook. So I'm going to come in and search for this. I'm going to put webhook in here, and it's going to bring up Webhooks by Zapier. I'm going to click that. You can see it's a premium feature, so you need to have it paid. Now we're going to say trigger event. So under here, we're going to go catch hook. So it's catching a hook that's fired into it. So we're going to click that, and then we're going to click continue. So this is going to set up the trigger. So here is our custom webhook URL. So I'm not going to enable this. I'm just going to leave this as it is. So I'm going to copy this. This is the important webhook URL. I'm going to copy it. Okay, and then we're going to jump it back into our site and put the webhook into the automation. So now I'm in my course, webhook course. I'm going to go to automations. This is where you would enable automations to welcome people to a course if they've bought it, and set out additional automations if you want to. So I'm going to leave all these off. I'm just going to fire the webhook because that's all we're interested in for this lesson. But if you are interested in setting up automations to go out when someone buys your course, make sure you set these up and that they are active and not paused. So we're going to go to add action, and we're going to go to send a webhook. So a webhook will be sent out when someone buys this course. So here we go. We have the hook URL. Remember, we copied this hook URL here, and we're going to paste that into here. Now, if you like, you can label this to make it really easy. So let's put in here, no one sees this information, it's just for you, and it will show on this side. So we're going to say delay 0. So it's going to basically, when someone signs up, straight away this webhook is going to fire. And we're going to click save. And we're going to make this action live. And we're going to apply to existing students if you want to. And then the webhook will fire and you'll gain access to all those students' information. In this case, I'm going to click no. Okay, so this is now live. We now need to test. I'm going to jump back. We set up our webhook. That's as simple as it is to set up the webhook inside of Zenler. So you've got that webhook in there, it's live and it's ready to go. So we're now going to jump back to Zapier. I'm going to click continue to here, and it's going to ask us to test this trigger. So all we need to do is copy this URL, which we already have saved, and just test that it works. So all I need to do is go to a new incognito window and paste that trigger URL in there, and you're going to get a lot of gobbledygook, but really doesn't matter. It says status success, right? So I'm going to close that incognito window now, and when we click test trigger, it should show as a result. So we found the request, so it works. So we can now click continue, and we're now going to say what happens to that information that's passed into Zapier from Zenler. Remember, Zenler, someone's enrolled. You've got your webhook set up in automations inside your course or your funnel or wherever you can put a webhook, and that fires. That information is being passed to Zapier, and Zapier now has that information, so you can now say what you want to do with it. So in this case, I'm going to connect it to a Google Sheet. So I'm going to click Google Sheets, and we're going to go and choose where that's going to go. So I need to go, where is it? And oh, hold on a second. Let's just click an event action. We're going to click create a spreadsheet row like this, and then we're going to click continue. So now it's going to say choose account. So you need to hook this up to your account. You can see I've got mine under here, so I'm going to click that one. You might need to connect this to your Google account. Make sure that your document shows up, and I'm going to click continue. I'm now going to go which drive. It's obviously on a Google Drive there. I'm going to choose the spreadsheet, and my spreadsheet is webhook. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm connected to the right area. So spreadsheet, webhook, and then worksheet. So inside of a Google Sheet we have worksheets. This is course webhook here. You can see that. So I'm going to choose course webhook there, and that's good. And then it's going to bring in the fields that are in my sheet. So you can see we've got first name, last name, course, date, email, and phone number. So we have that information in there. So here it is. So initially we haven't got any information because we haven't put a user into here, but we got these fields. So I know it's going to pull these across. Now we need to put the data into these fields. So what I do generally is I start with query string. We're going to come back to this and edit it in a minute. So you can just, I'm just doing this for simplicity. We're just going to put these all in. You're going to see that this will not be the case in a minute. We're going to change these over, but just for now, I'm just going to put this in just for the sake of this tutorial here. Okay, and I'm going to click continue. So what's going to happen now is it's going to fire, and it hasn't got any information in there, but that's fine. And we're going to click test and continue. And now the spreadsheet row is sent to Google, so it's all set. So I'm going to open this back up again, and we can fire this as a test. So I need to do a test inside of our site now. So we're not quite finished with this, but we're nearly finished. You're going to see why. At the moment, if we click in here, all we've got is query strings. Now we haven't fired that webhook from our site, so we need to do that. And the reason we need to do that is then it will give us all these additional fields that we can put in here. So we're not going to turn this on yet, we're just going to test this out. So I'm going to go to my course, I'm going to buy this course as a user. I'm going to go into new incognito window. You've only got to do this once you've set it up, it's set up. And we're going to go and put some details in here, and then because we have the course or the automation live for this, it will fire that out. So I'm going to put my details in here, and I'm going to hit enroll for free. Okay, let's now enroll for free. So I'm going to click this test student. So what's happening now is it's enrolling me in the course as a test student, which is great, but also at the same time it's firing that webhook to Zapier, so it's making that first initial connection. This will happen on our first little test here, so you're just testing with a test student, and then we're going to check. So now that we've done that, this will have fired. If we look into students here, you're going to see that we have a student in there. There we go, we just registered John Jones, blah blah blah. And this will not appear on our Google Sheet yet. If we do a refresh of our Google Sheet, that will not appear on here yet. Why? Because we haven't hooked up the actual names inside of Zapier. So we're going to jump back into Zapier now, and we're going to hit this little refresh here. So I'm holding the control, just refreshing this webhook page. And now we're going to have extra data, and this is going to form the connection. So really easy, guys. Here we go. Now we're in here, we're going to click this, and now look at all these options that come up that we didn't have before. This is now because it is capturing from there. So I'm going to put the name in the first name. So I'm going to get rid of this one, by the way. Just going to delete that out, select it and delete it out. I can delete all of these out. This is the last name, so show options, last name. That's good. I'm going to go into that one, delete that one out. This is the course, so you can see we've got all these options in here, what you can put into your Google Sheet: converted currency, country code, course URL, course validity, created at, enrollment date, plan type, VAT over the price. We've got all these things, currency and price, phone number in there. So all these things are in here. So I'm going to put in the course. So we're going to go down, I'm going to choose the course that it is, course name. Okay, there we go. And we're going to choose the date, so the date of enrollment. We're going to come down here. And guys, you won't get this unless you run that first test that we just did. So really important you remember that. So this is date. So the date is in here somewhere. This is enrollment date. There we go. I'll get rid of that one. And the next one is the email, which is really important. So I'm going to put the email in there. I'm going to get rid of that one. And we're going to do the phone number, and I think that's in there as well. There it is. And we're going to get rid of that one. So that is all set up. It's got the name, and now we click continue. So we're going to run another test in a second when we turn this on. So I'm going to click turn on Zap. Okay, so the Zap is now on. Let's just close this down. All right, so I'm going to go to my Zapier and I'm going to check that it's all on. You can name this as well. Let's call this Webhook test. Okay, and just click enter on that. So I'm going to go back now to our zaps, and you should see on this side we have this webhook. It's all set up now. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to run another test. So I'm going to go into my site. I'm going to go to site, and I'm going to go and delete that student out that we just did, that test student. So I'm going to go to student. I'm going to click the edit button. I'm going to unenroll him from the course. So I'm going to go in here and unenroll. Remember, it's set up so I won't have to do this again. Okay, so I'm now out of that course. I'm going to go back to student, and just now I can delete him out. Click OK, and we're going to run another test. So that is done now. So if I go to my Google Sheet, you can see I no longer need this first field, so I'm actually just going to delete it out. So that's deleted out now, and now we're going to run the actual test and watch it all work, hopefully perfectly. So I'm going to go to demo, and we're going to go into incognito window. Let's just go to home, redo this. So I'm going to go in here. Again, I'm going to put my details in. So I'm going to enroll in the course now, and we're going to put the details inside here. All right, so now we've got all here. I'm going to click enroll for free. It's going to ask me to just confirm a few little things. I'm going to verify that, and bang, we're through. So now we have gone in, we have subscribed to this course. So I'm just going to minimize this. I'm going to jump back to here and just check that by refreshing this page that student has gone in here. I've gone in there perfectly. And now we're going to check the webhooks will fire. Now, just as a little tip here, if you jump into Zapier, you can actually see inside here information. So if you go to your Zapier account, you can see how many times it fires. It should have fired twice, remember, for the test and for this last one. So if I click view zap details, you can see inside here how many times the zap has run by going to zap runs in the past 30 days. So one was fired out, so it's done one task at 9:49. So sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, but when it runs again, it will then enter that detail into the Google Sheet. So if I come to my Google Sheet, you can see that it's already captured that detail. So John and then Jones, the course was Webhooks, the date was in here, and I have the email address associated with that, and I have that phone number captured inside there as well. So the date looks a little bit wrong in there, so I can always edit this and just check that it works if I want to. So I can view this in editor if I want to, and just check that the date is coming across as well properly. So if I go into the editor and we go to, and this is where it's really good because you can go and change this. Created app is probably going to be the better one to do. So it can give you that date and then click continue, and good. You can retest the action if you want to, and turn on the zap. So this now works. So that is how you can connect it up. So you can get that data straight from the webhook straight into another application inside here. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Google Sheet. You can play around and send that information to another application if you wanted to, something like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or any of those kind of things. So this is, Zenler uses outgoing webhooks. For incoming you can use Zenler's API, and you already have that built into here as another app anyway to send people into the platform using Zenler's Zap. So if I quickly go to that now, I can just show you quickly that Zenler has its own Zap inside here. So I'm going to go to Zaps, and if I go and I create a new Zap, let's create a new Zap in here, you're going to see that you also have this Zenler app in here. If I type in Zen, then you're going to see that you have a Zenler app inside here, and you can choose a an event to trigger an action to send this information into another application. So that is webhooks using inside Zenler. So anywhere you see that, or you have that automations thing, if I created a funnel now, I could do the same thing. So I could go to next, I can call this test, click next, and let's just go through this really quickly, guys, just to show you where it is. Go into the automations from that funnel once you've set the funnel up, and you're going to see if you edit this, you could then go in and add a webhook here as well. So send a webhook, and that again would do exactly the same as you've done for a course. So anywhere, even for the lives and things like that you're creating, you can have this add action of sending a webhook out to them. So hopefully that's really clear for you guys. You know, you might have to tweak around with it a little bit. You might want to add some extra fields that you can pull from that data that's being output by Zenler, and you might want to add those extra fields into your Google Sheet. But that's basically how you can send information or packet information or a webhook out of the Zenler platform. Yeah, if you've got a webhook generated URL, you can send that information out to the application that's going to pick up the webhook, and then in that application you can do with that information with whatever you using it for that application. Because Zapier is not just the only platform to give you a webhook URL. So if you're integrating it with another kind of system where you need to pull data across to it and it allows you to generate a webhook, then you can use it in Zenler to send that information out. So hopefully that's really clear. It's more of an advanced subject, this kind of webhooks. We consider that if you're using webhooks, you will understand the principles of this anyway, but we hope that this video, even for beginners, will understand what it's all about. So that is webhooks for you. I know it's been asked for on the community for a while, so we thought we'd do a video to show you exactly how you can use webhooks to send packet information or webhook data out of the Zenler platform.